The greatest battles we ever fight are not with others. Not with fate. Not even with failure. They are fought quietly, within. Deep inside our minds, there is a voice that whispers, "You're better than them. You deserve more. You already know enough. You've arrived." That voice is ego. And while it may feel like confidence, it's actually the silent enemy that destroys progress, poisons relationships, and blinds us from reality. The Stoics, those ancient warriors of the mind, saw ego not as power, but as a dangerous illusion. To them, humility was not weakness. It was strength. It was the shield that protected their wisdom, the compass that kept them grounded while the world praised or punished them. And in today's chaotic world, where likes are mistaken for love, and followers are mistaken for worth, this wisdom has never been more essential. Imagine Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, the most powerful man of his time, writing in his private journal, reminding himself that he too will die, that fame is fleeting, that he is no different from the beggar outside the palace gates. He could have let ego corrupt his soul, could have surrounded himself with people who praised every breath he took. But he chose humility. He chose reflection. He chose to kneel before truth. He knew that the higher you rise, the more tempting it becomes to believe the lies your ego tells you, that you are special, exempt from flaws, untouchable by criticism. But to a Stoic, the man who thinks he knows everything has already lost the battle for wisdom. Ego feeds on praise. It drinks the compliments, devours recognition, and starves in silence. But a Stoic? A Stoic thrives in silence. They seek not the spotlight, but the truth. Where ego says, "I must be seen, admired, validated," humility says, "Let me serve, let me learn, let me improve." And that difference, though subtle, is the line between building a legacy and being forgotten. Because ego may help you rise, but it will never let you stay. It blinds you to your faults, deafens you to advice, and makes you a slave to your image. You stop growing. You stop listening. You stop becoming. In the gym of life, humility is the workout that hurts but strengthens. Ego is the shortcut that looks easy but breaks you in the end. The Stoics trained their minds like athletes. They questioned their motives. They welcomed criticism. Seneca once said, "You are your habits." And if your habit is defending your ego, avoiding discomfort, or chasing approval, you're not strong, you're just pretending. Pretending to be wise. Pretending to be confident. But when the storm hits, when life truly tests you, ego shatters like glass. Humility endures like steel. Let's be real. In this age of curated selfies, viral quotes, and influencer wisdom, it's easy to fall in love with your own image. You post a thought, people praise you, and you start believing you're enlightened. But what did Epictetus teach? That we must not speak too much about philosophy, rather, we must live it. Humility doesn't shout. It acts. It's not in your words, it's in your choices. How do you treat those who can do nothing for you? How do you respond when you're wrong? When was the last time you said, "I don't know," and meant it? These questions are weapons against ego. They are mirrors that show us who we truly are, not who we pretend to be. The Stoic knows that life is not about proving others wrong, but proving your discipline right. Ego wants to win. Humility wants to grow. Ego wants to be first. Humility wants to be better. One builds walls. The other builds bridges. One says, "Look at me." The other asks, "How can I help?" And if you're truly honest with yourself, if you strip away the applause, the trophies, the likes, what's left? Who are you when nobody is watching? That's your real self. And that self is shaped not by ego, but by humility, by discipline, by reflection. That's why the Stoics spent more time alone with their thoughts than chasing crowds. There's a dangerous lie we've been fed, that humility is for the weak. That if you don't brag, people won't respect you. That if you admit your flaws, you'll be left behind. But look at the wisest people in history. Socrates, the man who changed the world of thought, said he knew nothing. He was the wisest not because he claimed knowledge, but because he questioned everything. That's the Stoic spirit. Humility is not about thinking less of yourself. It's about thinking truthfully about yourself. It's seeing your strength without needing to show it off. It's accepting your limits without being limited by them. Ego says, you've made it. Humility says, you're still learning. Ego says, they owe you. Humility says, you owe it to yourself to stay grounded. And that's the secret. Ego talks in absolutes. It traps you in the past or fantasizes about the future. But humility? It lives in the present. It asks, what can I do now? How can I serve now? What truth must I face now? And that mindset is unshakable. Because while ego crumbles in the face of failure, humility thrives on feedback. While ego seeks perfection, humility seeks progress. You will be criticized. You will be underestimated. You will be overlooked. And ego will scream, they don't respect you. But the Stoic whispers, use it. Sharpen yourself. Let their doubt be your discipline. Because nothing kills ego like honest effort. You don't need to defend your greatness, let your actions speak. You don't need to announce your intentions, let your results echo. True strength doesn't need validation. It is validated by its endurance, by its resilience, by its refusal to be shaken by applause or insult. Here's the truth most people avoid: ego is afraid. It's afraid of failure, afraid of being forgotten, afraid of being ordinary. That's why it clings to titles, possessions, attention. But the Stoic is fearless, not because they are invincible, but because they are honest. Honest about their flaws. Honest about their fears. Honest enough to admit when they're wrong, strong enough to grow from it. Ego resists change. Humility embraces it. And in a world that's always shifting, only the humble can truly adapt. Look around. How many people have ruined their relationships, their careers, their peace, because they let ego lead the way? The man who couldn't apologize. The woman who couldn't admit she needed help. The leader who refused to listen. The artist who believed he was already great. Their stories are everywhere, written not in history books, but in the silence of regret. Ego is the invisible villain in so many tragedies. But humility is the quiet hero. The one that saves friendships, restores clarity, and builds a life worth living. So what do? We practice. Every single day. We catch ourselves when ego speaks. We breathe before we react. We listen more than we talk. We do the work without announcing it. We value learning over performing. That's Stoicism. That's real power. The kind that doesn't rust. The kind that doesn't need a spotlight to shine. Because the Stoic knows, the man who walks with humility walks with peace. The man who walks with ego walks alone. And when life punches you in the face, and it will, ego will look for someone to blame. But humility will look in the mirror and ask, what can I learn? When success kisses your forehead, and it might, ego will throw a parade. But humility will quietly say, stay focused. You haven't arrived. And when the world forgets your name, when time erases your status, only humility will have built something that lasts, a life of meaning, not just a moment of attention. In the end, the battle with ego is never over. It returns. It whispers. It seduces. But every time you choose humility, you win. You grow. You get stronger. The Stoics knew this. That's why they wrote, why they reflected, why they embraced discomfort. Not to appear wise, but to become it. And so must we. In a world obsessed with image, choose substance. In a world shouting for attention, choose silence. In a world drunk on ego, choose the sober path of humility. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Because in that quiet, disciplined, humble place, you won't just find peace. You'll find yourself.